There are only two miracles of Jesus that show up in all four of the Gospels, all four versions of the life of Jesus that we have in our Holy Scriptures. Two miracles. One of them is Jesus' resurrection, the focus of our celebration today. Does anyone know what the other miracle is that shows up in all four Gospels, or do you have a guess? Anyone have a guess? I'm really asking. No, not Lazarus. I didn't know this before. That's right, a seminary graduate right here. It's the feeding of the 5,000. So Jesus does so many things in his short ministry. He offers deep questions. He tells strange, thought-provoking stories. He heals people. He heals their bodies and their spirits and their communities, and Jesus feeds people. In the story of the feeding of the 5,000, Jesus finds himself out in a remote place with a great number of people who have come to receive his teaching and his healing. Evening is coming, and the disciples realize they have a hospitality crisis on their hands. What will all these people eat? So the disciples urge Jesus to send everyone away so that they can find their own food. But Jesus said, let's feed them ourselves. Now, no one said that being a disciple was an easy job. All the disciples had to work with is 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish. And somehow this will have to be enough to feed everyone. A crowd of not 5,000, in fact, but 5,000 men, plus all the women and children that the Bible writers didn't count, right? A lot of people. Jesus doesn't seem worried about it. He gives thanks for this food that they have, and he blesses it, and he breaks it, and he gives it to the disciples to distribute. And miraculously, everyone eats and is satisfied. Thousands and thousands of people eat 5 loaves of bread and 2 fish, and they're satisfied. And what happens next? Yes, there are leftovers. In this story, there are 12 baskets of leftover pieces. There are many interpretations of this story. Does everyone plan ahead and bring food along for the journey and spontaneously decide to share it? Does Jesus multiply the food somehow through divine power? Or maybe these two answers are really the same answer. Whatever happens is essentially what happens every time that Jesus is together with some people. Deep need and inadequate resources are met with the power of God and community, and amazing things happen. Whatever can be found is blessed and broken and shared, and the people are given new life. This is even true about the life of Jesus itself. Jesus' human life is a limited resource. Humans are mortal, and Jesus has accepted a dangerous calling. So after only 3 years of ministry, Jesus knows that he doesn't have much longer to live, and he warns his disciples. He warns them 3 times that he will die and yet somehow rise again. Knowing that he is about to die, Jesus takes the time to say a careful goodbye to those he is closest to. I'm the bread of life, Jesus tells them. And when you eat bread that is blessed and broken in my name, I will always be with you, even beyond death. This limited resource will be multiplied as it is shared. But we're here to talk about the other miracle, This year we received the Easter story from the Gospel of Matthew. And in this particular version of the story, someone has truly listened to Jesus when he taught about his dying and his rising. There are women, the gospel tells us, Mary Magdalene and another Mary and others, followers of Jesus who have listened and who wait with hope to see what will happen. These women wait and watch at the crucifixion. When the other disciples betray Jesus and desert him in fear, these women stay. They hold vigil by the cross. At the time of Jesus' death, they feel the earth shake, and they hear a Roman centurion proclaim, "Surely this one was God's son." These women wait. And then Mary Magdalene and another Mary, there were so many Marys, get up at dawn on the first morning of the week, not to anoint the body. They don't bring any spices with them in this version of the story. They go only to see the tomb, to observe what may have happened there, because they're filled with hope. They remember what they were told. And what a crazy scene they find. You saw it play out here in another chaotic fashion this morning, right? The earth shakes again. An angel rolls back an enormous stone and sits on it. The Roman guards faint in terror. The angel tells the two Marys that Jesus has been raised, and he says to go and share what they've seen. Then Mary Magdalene and the other Mary encounter Jesus himself, risen and wounded, and take hold of his feet and worship him. And Jesus instructs them also, go and tell. And so Mary Magdalene and the other Mary head off to share the good news, the first apostles of the early church. It is because of these women that we are here today, and that so many others around the world are gathering around a mystery that has traveled across continents and oceans and through thousands of years. We gather around a mystery, around a miracle. Just as with the feeding of the more than 5,000, we may all have slightly different understandings of this story. This story that is both human and holy, that is ancient and also new, this story that is still taking place within us and around us. The world around us today still holds countless Good Fridays. Evil and suffering and death persist. And yet, we are called to live in hope. Because we have been given a story to teach us that evil is never the end. When the worst happens, we must witness and wait and hope and act. And only then will we be sure not to miss all the earthquakes and the angels and the good news and the callings. Maybe some of you have brought reasons for despair here with you this morning. Personal or political or environmental. The good news of Easter does not require us to pretend that these tragedies does not exist. The good news emerges through them. The dawning that day was just the beginning of what is still happening all over the world, a swelling of earth-shaking power that even death cannot overcome. So let us receive the witness of Mary Magdalene and the other Mary. This witness that has traveled so long and so far to reach us. God has mixed the flour of our world with leaven, with yeast. But let us live in hope, trusting in all that is still rising. What has been mixed and raised and formed and baked and blessed and broken can yet satisfy all of our hearts and bodies as God and human community come together to find and to share the bread of life. Thanks be to God.